Hi everyone. Welcome back to our channel where we talk about personal finance tips for beginners. In today's video, we're going to talk about emergency funds and how to build one. Having an emergency fund is one of the most important things you can do to protect yourself financially, especially during uncertain times. So, let's get started. First, let's define what an emergency fund is. An emergency fund is a savings account that's set aside specifically for unexpected expenses. These could be things like a job loss, a medical emergency, or a major car repair. The goal is to have enough money in your emergency fund to cover at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. So, how do you build your emergency fund? The first step is to figure out how much you need to save. To do this, you'll need to know your monthly expenses. This includes things like rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, and any other bills you have. Write down all of your expenses and add them up to get your monthly expenses total. Then, multiply that number by 3 or 6 to get your target emergency fund amount. For example, if your monthly expenses are $2,000, you should aim to save between $6,000 and $12,000 for your emergency fund. Once you know your target emergency fund amount, the next step is to start saving. But where should you keep your emergency fund? You want to make sure it's easily accessible in case of an emergency, but also earning some interest. A high-yield savings account or a money market account are good options. Make saving for your emergency fund a priority by setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your emergency fund account each month. Even if it's just a small amount, it will add up over time. Another way to free up more money to save for your emergency fund is to cut back on expenses. Look for areas in your budget where you can trim some fat. Maybe you can eat out less, cancel subscriptions you don't use, or negotiate bills for better rates. Don't forget about extra sources of income. Any money you can earn on the side, whether it's from a part-time job, selling items you no longer need, or freelance work, can go straight to your emergency fund. It's important to remember that emergencies happen, and it's not a matter of if, but when. So, once you have your emergency fund set up, try not to dip into it for non-emergencies. Avoid using credit cards or taking out loans to cover unexpected expenses. That will only dig you deeper into debt. Now that you know how to build your emergency fund, let's review some key takeaways. Aim to save between 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses in your emergency fund. Keep your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account or money Building an emergency fund is not a one-time activity. It's an ongoing process that requires discipline and commitment. But it's worth the effort because having an emergency fund can give you peace of mind and financial security. To make your emergency fund more effective, consider adding an inflation buffer. Inflation can erode the value of your emergency fund over time, so you may need to adjust your target amount periodically to keep up with the rising cost of living. Another way to make your emergency fund work harder for you is to shop around for the best interest rates. Look for banks and credit unions that offer competitive rates on savings accounts and money market accounts. Keep in mind that your emergency fund is not a substitute for insurance. You still need to have health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, and any other insurance that's relevant to your situation. Insurance can help protect you from catastrophic events that could wipe out your emergency fund and leave you financially vulnerable. Finally, don't be discouraged if you can't reach your target emergency fund amount right away. Building an emergency fund is a journey, not a sprint. Start with a realistic goal, and then work your way up as you get more comfortable with saving and budgeting. That's it for today's video on how to build your emergency fund. I hope you found these tips helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more personal finance tips for beginners. Thanks for watching.